volumes quite a lot. How encouraged are you by the increase in volumes that we've seen today? How much of it, though, was related to options expiry dates as well?
Nadine, that's exactly right, and I was going to say that these higher volumes that have gone through shouldn't probably be looked at too closely, because we have seen options expiry go through, and of course we always do see volumes higher on those days. So I don't think we can look into it too much. We do know that the low volumes are really a continuing theme on our market, as investors are sort of sitting on the sidelines awaiting the August results over here in Australia, and of course we're continuing to see these earnings results coming out of the US. So I don't think we can focus on that too much, but certainly was a more optimistic day in terms of those volumes.
Moving into the energy space, Leanne, we did have Woodside Petroleum increasing its full-year production guidance. So it did positive things for the stock overall, but what are sort of analysts saying about its shift in focus, I guess, from these big deals to perhaps some of these more exploratory moves?
Nadine, I think the concern for Woodside going forward is, of course, a lot of these growth projects, and really we do know that probably from around financial year 15-16 we are going to start seeing a bit of a fall off in some of their production, despite, of course, getting this pretty positive production report through today, where in fact they did increase their target for 2014, as you said. So I think analysts out there are a little bit cautious in terms of their exploration and their acquisitions, in terms of their growth projects. We do know that they do want to invest in a lot more oil projects, but in terms of acquisitions, some of them are looking pretty highly valued at the moment. We have been hearing out recently from the company quite a bit in terms of acquisitions. They've recently acquired that 70% interest in Beach Energy's exploration project. They've signed a number of exploration permits, and of course that Corpus Christi project over in Texas, where it's going to be buying that LNG. So all adding certainly to their growth projects, but I think we are waiting to sort of hear more out from the company in terms of how they are going to accelerate their earnings from around FY16 onwards. Nevertheless, we do in fact like the outlook. We think that there are strong underlying fundamentals within the company in terms of that strong dividend, that 80% payout ratio, their very strong balance sheet as well. So we do like this company, but I certainly think the next focus is going to be around those growth projects.
Just getting back to the carbon tax repeal and some of those companies and the reaction to it, Leanne, we heard from AGL today, not just in regards to the carbon tax repeal, but also sort of forward-looking to their earnings. So, you know, what really drove that share price lower, down 5.5% today?
It was in fact the worst performer on the ASX 200 today as well, but mostly as a result of the announcement around the carbon tax repeal. They have come through and announced in fact that their FY14 guidance is likely to remain in line, so that was positive. But looking forward in terms of their FY15 outlook, they have indicated that they are expecting that to reduce by about $186 million in terms of their earnings, and there's going to be an additional $14 million which is also going to impact their earnings as a result of the closure of their LPG plant at Kurnell, and that's obviously been affected by the closure of the oil refinery by Caltex at Kurnell. So overall it's going to have about a combined $200 million impact on their earnings in FY15. So I think as a result of the carbon tax repeal, they did come through with this announcement as a bit of a warning to shareholders. So as a result, certainly didn't like that news. We saw the stock falling off. Looking at another one, Origin Energy, they haven't come through yet and indicated any sort of impact on their earnings. They more highlighted some of the savings that's going to lead to in terms of households' savings in electricity and gas as well. But potentially there is a little bit of risk that Origin might in fact come through and downgrade some of their earnings. We did see Origin down about 1.25%, reflecting a bit of nervousness, I think.
Yeah, Leanne, David Jones is no more. So what do you make of it, Grant winning this final approval for the $2.2 billion deal from Woolworths Holdings, and where to from here?
Look, it certainly was positive for shareholders given the fact that they overwhelmingly approved the deal on Monday, so they certainly will be happy receiving this this $4 deal. There was some pretty interesting commentary out from ASIC today. We know there was a bit of concern in terms of that collateral benefit. They did indicate that they recognised that there probably was a collateral benefit that was being offered to Mr. Liu, but to counter this, shareholders of David Jones knew that what the deal involved. So in fact they didn't oppose the deal, and certainly did look pretty positive. So I think shareholders will be happy. In terms of the timeline, we know that tomorrow will be the last day of trade for David Jones on the ASX, so it will be pretty sad. We know this has been about a 176-year department store, but it will delist from the ASX on Monday, and of course Woolworths will then take over the control of David Jones from the 1st of August, at which point shareholders will also receive their cash consideration of $4. So I guess looking long term, there is going to be the question around where in fact a lot of this money is going to be redeployed once investors receive their cash consideration. There is some speculation it will be put back into some of those retailers. We saw quite a strong performance from a lot of those retailers back on Monday when we received the first approval, and of course today as well for the final approval. So potentially could see a bit of that money being put back into those retailers, but I suppose time will tell.
Yeah.